Sachinn Lala, welcome to the Future of E-commerce catch-up. It's great to have you here, and thank you once again for being our guest.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Now, you are, of course, very well known in the advertising and retail community in the Middle East. But for the few who don't know your backstory, let me give a few briefing notes, if I may. Sachinn worked in banking before a successful period at FP7 and then Sachinn. It was here that you met Colman Sheil, with whom you started Liquid in 2016. The Middle East's first independent agency fully focusing on retail and e-commerce. Precision timing, someone might say, and foresight with the growing online and offline retail sectors, as well as the increased proliferation of mobile phone technology being used in retail. So from there, Liquid took off to become, as I've heard many describe you, as specialists of the digital shelf, to the point that earlier in May of 2024 of this year, the company was acquired by French advertising giants Havas, which takes us to today with Liquid Havas. So Sachinn, what a year it's been for Liquid and for you personally. Congratulations once again.
Thank you. I think it's been a superb year. I think it always feels good when people recognize that you have built some value from nothing. An acquisition is more than just money, right? It's a proof that you build something valuable over the last 8 years, where a big multinational like Havas sees value in it and feels like we can add value to their business as well. And thus, we today fall as Liquid Havas Market, which is part of Havas Market, which is their specialized e-commerce and retail offering across the globe.
Absolutely. And before we talk more about that, and I really do want to get into some of that, as well as where you see the sector going in the future. But I want to take you back, if I may, first to back when you started Liquid after a successful advertising career, like I mentioned, with FP7 and Sachinn. What can you tell us a bit about what your thinking was? What was the gap you were filling and the USP you were bringing to clients that wasn't there?
I think overall, as I've mentioned before, saying UAE is all about shopping, and we felt that there was no agency focused on commerce. That's where the gap was, and we were trying to fill it. I think the problem at that time was it was very niche, and mainline big MNCs were not interested in it because it was too niche, and the volume and the value was not big enough for them to be focusing on it. So 2016, Colman and me thought it's a good time to kind of break off and start something with a very clear focus on commerce. We didn't want to kind of do branding and advertising and commerce. It was just commerce. Of course, today we hear about unified commerce from Mars, and we have spoken about Omni-commerce in the past, but the reality is we just wanted to create an agency that focuses on commerce. Offline, online doesn't matter, because people really don't distinguish between either channel. They just want to shop. And that was the idea behind setting up Liquid at the time. Yes, today COVID happened and it was an unfortunate incident, but it accelerated commerce. And in hindsight, everyone says, oh, it was good timing, but as they say, success has many fathers. When we started the business, everyone was quite, doubtful about why we were doing it and why we were leaving an MNC to start something. But we still believe that commerce needs specialization, and that's why an agency dedicated to commerce will always work, even long term.
And now, of course, it's ever present in all of the agencies. A lot of the bigger agencies are taking up a commerce-specific division. So Procter & Gamble, I believe, were the first client of Liquid. So how important was that in terms of moving the needle and getting others on board?
So actually, funny enough, our first client was General Mills. We worked on Betty Crocker and Haagen-Dazs. Procter was a superb client from the get-go, because the experience on Procter, while we were at Saatchi, we worked on Procter. So while we met newer clients, the Procter experience paid off, because it gave people confidence that they know FMCG and they understand FMCG. Actually, the first year, Procter was not our biggest client. It was Aujan, Coca-Cola, and it was other businesses that came forward. Procter was an important client. We started working with them from the get-go, but I think it became more from a value perspective within the Liquid business. It became valuable through the years. But the first year was really about other businesses. We met a lot of other clients. No doubt, Procter played an important role. The experience on Procter played an important role. They are the school of marketing. So, it always helps mentioning that you worked on the Procter business. So first year was all about a mix of FMCG clients.
And I believe that you had quite a long-standing relationship with Emaar from previously as well. And with the time that Dubai Mall was sort of growing and growing into what it's now becoming in Dubai, sort of such a figurehead of retail in the region and globally. How important was that relationship and the collaborations that you had with Emaar?
So when Liquid started, we haven't really collaborated with real estate as much. We've stuck to the FMCG segment. I think Emaar was a good experience when I was at FP7, and then when I moved to Saatchi, I was doing Mall of the Emirates. I think retail helped. Understanding the landscape of retail helped. But even today, 95% of our business is FMCG. So we are more on the brand side rather than the physical retail side. But yes, of course, helps understanding the landscape you're playing in.
Yeah.
So we haven't done anything with Emaar directly, but the knowledge kind of helped us through the time.
Yeah, and FMCG, we'll sort of talk a little bit about quick commerce and some of the sort of things coming up to the Ramadan sales a little later. But back then, when you were first sort of making Liquid a name for yourselves and getting sort of more clients on board, did you foresee a day when an acquisition from a company like Havas was going to happen? Was that always the intention when you set up?
I think all entrepreneurs want to be acquired one day. It's only a matter of time. I think we got, some interest in the first couple of years itself, and we were not ready. We didn't think we were big enough or we were valuable enough to, make that transition. Of course, M&A was always on the cards from day one. But I think the focus really was, let's make something valuable. I think the interest was, why is commerce not taken seriously in a market where retail is, it's, as I say, it's our national pastime, right? So how can you not have an agency dedicated to commerce? Even at that time, there was JWT and there were other companies that were trying something with retail, but it was very, let's do it as a hobby project and see if it works. It wasn't really, let's put full throttle, everything behind it like they're doing today. And we will ensure it works. So I think the priority at get-go was, let's make something valuable, let's add the right value to the clients. Yes, M&A happens great, but wasn't like the end goal from day one. Always good to have that in mind when you do things.
Absolutely. So bringing it back to the present day then, and you mentioned obviously the need for the right acquisition to sort of come around. So having formed Liquid pretty much in your own image back in 2016, how has it been to get accustomed with any culture, behavior, or policy differences that a behemoth like Havas might have? Is it a change you've enjoyed progressing on?
Honestly, I would say we worked in an MNC, so we understand how it works. The reality is all MNCs are cut from the same cloth. I worked with Publicis, Saatchi, they were French, Havas is French. So the policies and procedures are not very different. Yes, the ethos and the brand thinking and the value systems are different. So I think we haven't seen a lot of change from that angle. So it's not been a jarring transition. I think it's been a good transition, very much felt like home. I think the one good thing that we did is in 2020, we hired a CFO from Saatchi. She was my CFO when I was at Saatchi. And whatever small differences that we were not following MNC policies or procedures, she just ensured that we started doing that 3-4 years ago. So I think the jarring is much lesser today because in the last 3-4 years, we already have been used to hearing, no, you can't do this. This is the right way to go about it. This is the global standard. This is the IFRS policy. So I think that has really helped us transition into Havas very smoothly. My bosses are very happy with the way we have transitioned. And I think that switch of having the CFO from an MNC helped make this very, very smooth.
Yeah. And is that something on a sort of wider scale that you find sort of is particularly important, is getting the right team together for things like that?
Absolutely. I mean, in our business, it's the team.
Yeah.
CEO is a figurehead, and of course, we have to make some tough calls and make the right decisions. But I think getting the right team, nurturing them into the right value systems, ensuring that they are loyal and they, you ensure that their careers progress as well, so they end up staying with you for a while. My senior team has been with me for 5+ years, and that's, kudos to them to see the transition through, which has helped us overall focus on other things. Recruiting, training is a massive problem and a massive hiccup for all agencies. So the more loyal your senior team is, it allows leadership to focus on other parts of the business rather than worrying about constantly recruiting and training people into your value systems.
Now, I've heard you describe, and you touched on it just then, that shopping is our national hobby, which rang true to me as a long time resident in Dubai. I think I remember when Dubai Shopping Festival was first launched, or whenever that was, a long time.
I think 22, 23 years.
You would be the person to know. But what would you say is the biggest change that you have seen in the region's retail scene since then, since those early days as well when you were setting up?
So I think since we spoke that we both are long-time Dubai residents, I moved here in 2004. I think when I moved, it was very much Dubai is GCC's answer to tourism, right? People from GCC come to Dubai to shop. I think over the last 20 years, we are now a global city, and we are not the Singapore of Middle East, we are the Dubai of the world, right? So I think that's been a massive transition. We are not playing a small game anymore. I think the good and bad part is, I think when you travel today, you look at the retail outlets there, you're like, you don't need to shop it. We have it in Dubai, right? Mm-hmm. I think the only prominent ones I can miss would be Uniqlo and Primark. Primark is also now coming with Alshaya. So there's no retail outlet that's not available locally. We are not playing second seasons. We are not playing, autumn's not coming to us a little later. We are up to date. So I think the retail segment has really grown, where we are now truly global, which means that you really don't need to travel abroad to shop. You travel abroad to tourism things. Of course, you can't compare it to US because, it's a different shopping experience and the costing is different. But otherwise, Dubai's transition from being called that, okay, we are a regional player. We're not a regional player anymore. And retail has driven a lot of that change from an experience standpoint, from a brand availability choice standpoint. So that's made a massive difference in how retail has functioned.
As we record this at the end of an eventful 2024, how do you see the current regional market and retail amid booming economies in the UAE and Saudi Arabia? Are end of the year spirits high with your clients, with your customers? Absolutely.
I think 2024, as everyone knows, we've seen through a tough period. Regional tensions have calmed down finally. So I think the sentiment has changed. Mm-hmm. You really don't want to go out shopping when the sentiment is down. I think we've kind of come to the right end of 24 where sentiments are all right. Everyone's in high spirits. Everyone's looking forward to end of the year sales. So I think it's a good time for retail overall, with the fact that Ramadan also comes in 4 months, unlike before. So also there's a spillover from end of the year sale to Ramadan. So the next 3-4 months should be very interesting and exciting for retail. We won't see a dip, which we normally see after end of the year. We see a dip in Jan-Feb, and then we wait for Ramadan again. I think this time we'll just see through the next 4 months as the high time for retail. And I think all the retailers have been waiting for this moment. You walk into a store, you see the latest seasons, and they're completely stocked up, which is great.
Yeah. And I wanted to get your take a little bit on different approaches to relationships with your clients within an agency. As I understand it, the typical models might be on a retainer or a full-time employee, FTE basis, or on per project basis. Can you give us your thoughts on how that relationship has evolved with the increased demand of brands for content creation in an ever more AI-dominated environment?
So I think overall brands are hesitating or walking away from retainer discussions. I think they want to keep an open relationship, which, to be honest, isn't bad. I think is a good pressure even on the agencies to deliver month on month, week on week, day on day. We don't take the client for granted. I think which is a good thing because we give our best every time. But the retainer model still exists, FTE model still exists, but more and more clients are going agency on record, here is a rate card, let's work as and when the work comes through. That's one part. I would still love to see some evolution of saying, okay, we'll do the work for absolutely nothing and you share some of your profit, which negates any risk that the client might have. I think we need to see how that evolution works. AI is, again, it's a massive topic. I think every podcast, every single exhibition talks about AI. I think AI is something we should not get scared of. It's lovely. It's great to have AI with us. I think AI should scare lazy people, not people who can think, right? Because if you look at the best brand campaigns I can think of Middle East is ADCB Long Live Ambition or Hello Tomorrow Emirates. AI can't come up with that, right? We are in the creative business. We will be creative, right? AI will help us adapt. AI will help us do things that we took longer to do in the past. AI can help us see through a project much faster and cheaper. Yeah. Like in the past, if my creative director came to me and said, I want to do a 20-second ad, I need SFX and I need visual effects, it would be a lot more expensive. With AI, it's cheaper. So I think brands are pushing us to use more AI, but I think agencies need to adapt to AI from an adapt level. And that also frees up our creative guys to experiment more, try something new, which they have not had the time in the past because they've had to not only create, they've also had to adapt, get the campaign ready. I think today, if AI can take the role of more adaptation and the creative has more time to experiment, I think it gives us an excellent, way forward of creatives generating better creativity than before. It's easier said than done, but you have to. This is the technology. We can't run away from it.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's been said a few times. Obviously, it's not going to take your job, but it'll take the jobs of those who don't understand AI or don't embrace it or don't sort of work along with it to make your life easier and get that technology harnessed for you.
I read an example somewhere which said teachers went on protest when calculator was made, right? And they were like, oh my God, the calculator is going to take our job. And today we're like, really? The teacher does more than calculation. So I think AI has the same role in our world where we have to just evolve and upskill and AI will catch up.
No, it's very true. I think that whole evolution, like 20 years ago when we first came here to back to Dubai, the e-commerce conversation wouldn't have been what it is. The mobile phone conversation wouldn't have been. I put a post on LinkedIn a while ago just showing my old Nokia phone that I still have from those days before I sort of got an iPhone, but it was a different world. And this thing, it's just a constant evolution that we're in, right? Yeah. So we've looked at the past, we've looked somewhat at the present and how you see the market from your eyes at the moment. So I'll just lean more into the Christmas tale theme a little further and be the ghost of Christmas future. So what are the things going into 2025 that you're most excited about, and where do you see sort of the biggest opportunity for retailers and brands?
I think the biggest opportunity even today, which I feel is a bit untapped, and I'll say the word Omni-commerce, it's been floating around for the last 10, 15 years, but I think Middle East still needs to make the shopping experience a little bit more seamless. I think today, even if, let's say I go to a furniture store and I buy something online, I can't really return it offline. I have to go back, call the customer service, arrange for a pickup, then someone comes and picks it up, then I have to wait for the refund, then I have to go back in store, see what I like. These things, it's like I'm wearing a trouser and I'm like, I want my left pocket to make more money than my right pocket. It's your trouser. Why are you worried about whether you do it offline or online? You should be worried about loyalty, right? If you are able to keep your consumer loyal, I think that's a win. Whether that person shopped online, offline, didn't matter.
Yeah.
Recently, I saw a brand giving online 30% sale and offline 25% sale. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is not the way to, you're trying to monetize one channel over the other, but actually you will lose a customer. And that's more important than trying to keep your balance between your channels right. I think we haven't nailed it yet. And I think 25, the good part is in the past, There were issues of, even e-commerce has come a long way from where it started in terms of cash on delivery issues and people not trusting the online channels enough, where they didn't want to keep a credit card on file. Most of the purchases were happening abroad. That problem is gone. Everyone now loves online. They know how to shop. They have learned it. They've adapted to it. Today, I think 25 should be is your online is robust, your offline is robust. Now, how these two channels talk together so that your consumer sees you as one brand and they shop in either way, return, buy, review, does not matter. As long as they're coming to your brand, that's a win. And I think this is the part we are now not evolved enough to do that. And I think 25 should be the time when we should just put it to bed and make it seamless.
Well, that just brings me on to the balance that you speak of between online and offline retail in Dubai, that omni-channel importance. Do you see that as a balance that will always maintain, or have you seen a shift in consumer behaviors towards the convenience of digital retail over the more immersive experience of brick and mortar retail, or is it finding that cohabitation, that ecosystem for the two?
I don't think it's a commonality across brands and product portfolios. I think it really depends on whether your brand is a commodity, whether it's a repeat purchase. Do you really want to experience it? So I think convenience plays a big role in our region. We love it. Fuel comes home. We don't really want to go to the petrol station either. So I think if you're buying a product that's low ticket, you know what you're buying. There should be a natural shift to buying that repeat purchase online because you're really not experimenting. I think when it comes to trying a big ticket item or trying something new, brick and mortar helps. So it wouldn't be one answer across all brands and portfolios. It really depends on what brand you're selling, what category are you selling. And again, I don't think it's a good or bad thing. There's been a lot of discussion of, we should focus more on online or focus more on offline. I think you should focus more on loyalty. Havas did a survey, I think last year, and they said, we believe in meaningful brands. And the study showed up, I think 74 or 78. I'm not really accurate about it, but if the 78% of the brands vanished tomorrow morning, it would not make any difference. That is more alarming than, hey, do I buy this product online or offline? I think we need to find a way where our consumers love our brand more than our competition. And whether they end up buying that product online or offline, superb, it's a win.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more there. And looking further ahead, so beyond sort of 2025 and beyond, how much further can e-commerce go? If we take the example of our next live catch up that we've got in 2025 of quick commerce leading up to Ramadan, and such an important time for FMCG brands where they see the spike in orders due to the holy month and the conditions of that. So how much further do you think we can push the envelope and technology in that ever evolving environment?
I think technology has always played a big role in quick commerce. I think from product searches to product recommendation, it's been a very, old technology now. It started in 2016 where brands or retailers were able to offer it. I think the two things that I would really focus on, considering now we have AI that everyone loves, talks about, is personalization. I don't think we have done enough of it. As they say, two tigers don't have the same stripes. It applies to humans as well. If there is enough data on Dan and me and AI sifts through it, they know that there is a difference in how we shop. Even though we might have the same household income, we might have the same number of children, and we might have the same shopping habits, there is a differentiation. And I think today, if you put AI to the right use, it'll find that differentiation and it'll talk to Dan differently and it'll talk to Sachinn differently. And that's the differentiation I haven't seen yet. And the second part would be shopping cart abandonment, which can be fixed, right? Why is someone walking away at the time of purchase? Why is that cart being abandoned? I don't think we've done enough analysis on it. But I think the big part to me still would be personalization. We don't do it enough. We don't want to be creepy about it either, because you don't want someone to say, wow, this retailer is really, really digging into my life. It can be done very subtly where You don't feel it, but it's helping you. Like, today everyone's going through a lot. We have a lot more complex life than we had before. I think the last 4 years have been brutal. And whether you are a mid-level employee or a junior or a senior, everyone's going through a lot, right? There's a lot going on. How does quick commerce make our life easier? Because normally you're buying products that are a repeat purchase. And these are the things, especially with Ramadan, there's already the household is full, there's a lot going on, the mom is in charge on taking care of everything. So if we can find ways to help her, I think that's a win on everyone.
And personalization, it just makes me think with like the different generations who are sort of coming in to e-commerce, so Gen Z, sort of in the workplace, and they will have grown up with a different commerce experience and different retail experience than we did and our parents before us. So how much of that personalization do you think is just going to become the status quo and the expectation?
I think the product portfolio differentiation already helps.
Yeah.
So what you see versus what your kids see on the website should be already slightly different based on shopping behaviors. So that shift already should help, because yes, different generations are shopping different things. What you would be buying and what your kids are buying is very different. But the reality is, as long as that differentiation exists, you already have answered half of the problem, because the person shopping is not searching for something. It's already there on the website. Yeah. So that's already happening. And I think today when you talk to a retailer, they already are very focused on, are we talking about the right things to the right person when they're coming to our, website?
And another thing, which is obviously a big new wave, next wave, if you like, of e-commerce with social commerce and the continued rise of social media use, TikTok, obviously in Saudi, particularly in young population, it's ever growing. So what role do you think that plays in the ecosystem of social commerce? Do you think that's going to come to take some of the pie of the advertising spend, particularly?
I think today social already takes some part of the advertising spend. I think it's a good pivot for e-commerce guys. It's an untapped version for us. Today we don't have any social commerce solid offering. I think user-generated videos, product purchases on the video is still not happening. Live shopping, untapped here, very big in Asia, not big here. So I think e-commerce will naturally evolve as retailers sit down and say, okay, what's next, right? We've used technology, we've put in the best product portfolio, we provide the best delivery times, return, everything's sorted, right? Payment, what's next, right? And social commerce should be the right answer on what's next, because user-generated videos manages review, right? One of the things of Middle East is we don't love leaving reviews. So user-generated videos already solves that problem. Shoppable videos solves the problem of, okay, I'm looking at a video, can I make the purchase quickly? Or live shopping, when you want to ask questions about it, or when you want to ask questions about a product, it makes it easier. I think these are pivot that naturally will come. TikTok's launched shopping abroad. It'll definitely move to Middle East. It's only a matter of time. So I think 2025, we will see some shift on social commerce. It should be a natural progression of what e-commerce guys do next.
And finally, what's next for Sachinn and Liquid Havas? Anything exciting for that you can share with us for us to look forward to?
So I think this year we have laid the foundation. We integrated with Havas. We became part of Havas market. I think next year really would be acceleration on, what's next. How do we bring more value to clients abroad? And how do we use technologies? And Havas is, quite spearheading that conversation on how to use technology within our day-to-day work and how do we use that to help our clients. I think that integration has already happened this year. So next year is really to look at how do we accelerate that further, add the right value to clients. Today, as you said, we are not alone. We are competing against the big boys, and we need to bring our own might to the story, right? And Havas helps us do that. That's what we want to do for 25 in terms of we want to play at the right level. And we've started this journey, and being a leader sometimes is also pushing yourself ahead and putting yourself in uncomfortable places and trying something new. So 25 really would be experimentation of quite a few new things. Of course, all of them might not click, but we have to give it a go and see what works and where we can shift change. What we did in 2016, what we did in 2020 was good, but it's not good enough anymore. So we have to push ourselves further, and 25 is all about trying something new and seeing what other avenues we can help on the commerce front. We don't want to change our ethos. We don't want to change our story. We'll still focus on commerce, but we'll try newer things on the story and see how we can, push the brand story further in the retail space.
Sachinn, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all the best and everyone at Liquid Havas for the future of e-commerce.
Thank you for having me over. It was a pleasure talking to you. Always love talking about retail and Middle East. It's a never-ending fascination when it comes to retail and this region.
Thank you.
Thank you.